What's up, everybody? How's it going? Thank you for tuning into the show. I'm your host, MJ. So, as you can tell from the title of today's episode, we're going to be going in. We're going to be going in about a particular film that came out in the '80s that revolving around the horror family and the horror community. We're going to be talking about Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. Now, I know there's been a lot of opinions and opinionated people regarding this specific film of the Halloween franchise. I know there's been some backlash. So I want to tell you, I'm going to be talking about mainly discussing about this particular film. I'm going to be discussing why, to me, it's one of out of two films that I would consider my just most least favorable films in the Halloween franchise saga. So once again, I'm going to be talking about and discussing with you guys my reason for why Halloween 3: Season of the Witch is my least favorable out of the whole entire Halloween franchise. This is another one, but we'll get into that in a minute. So, before I even go off and let you guys know, just because I'm saying that this was my most least favorable film in the Halloween franchise, one of out of two, that does not mean I'm saying that this was a bad film. It was not a bad film. It was actually a good movie. This was a good movie. Halloween 3: Season of the Witch was a good movie. But I have my reasons for why it's my least favorable and I did not like this film to a certain extent, okay? So, first off, I want to give you guys a backstory. As we know about Halloween 3, that's the one where we had, it was a different backstory. It was than what we know and expected. It was about basically a mask maker who was a madman who was planning to basically commit a mass murder on Halloween night utilizing ancient Celtic rituals, okay? And these ancient Celtic rituals with this whole mass murdering attempt by this madman mask maker, he was basically using masks, the techniques of masks. And we know that these masks had those chips at the back of them, those little chips on those little tags, price tags on the back, and that was the whole basic foundation of these so-called masks just murdering people. And we knew it was a gruesome death. And as I said, the film was good. This was a good film. It was good. It came out in 1982. It casted Tom Atkins playing Dr. Daniel, as well as leading actress Stacey Necklin playing Ellie Gambridge. Also, Dan O'Hurley playing the mask creator Conal Cochran. So these were the main key characters. Once again, Tom Atkins playing Dr. Daniel, Stacey Necklin playing Ellie Gambridge, and Dan O'Hurley playing Conal Cochran. These were the main key characters. I think they did a phenomenal job. I think the casting of the film was actually good. The casting of this film was good. It was a hell of a job. I liked the performance by all the cast members. Now, as I told you guys, I'm telling you guys that the film was good and that I liked it. So I know you guys are like, wait a minute, MJ, you're confusing me. So did you like the film or not? Because the title of the film is the least favorable. The title of this film is Halloween 3, and basically why it's the least favorable by the majority of people. So do you like it or not like it? This is the thing. Now I'm going to go into you guys why I didn't like the film, okay? I didn't like it. It was my least favorable of the Halloween franchise, should I say. It was my least likable, should I say. So we're going to recorrect that. I won't say that I didn't like the film. I will say it was my least favorable out of all of the Halloween films. I'm going to go into you guys now. Before I go in, I'm going to tell you guys, the other film in the Halloween franchise that I least liked was the Rob Zombie's version of Halloween. Yes, I was just not fond of that film at all. So, Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, and the Rob Zombie's version of Halloween was my two least just favorable movies out of Halloween franchises, period. On point, just straight up. But now we're going to go in specifically Halloween Season of the Witch. Some of my things is what I had problems with this one, and I know some of you guys may agree, and there may be a few of you that disagree. But I'm going to go in. I'm going to try to go in real touch, really in, go deep into this one. Because this is a legendary film and we're talking about a legendary franchise, so I have to make sure that I go really deep into this one. Okay, as I said, it was a good film. I gave you guys the backstory. I gave you guys the key characters, the key cast in this. The reason why I didn't like it, the number one reason why I did not like it is because the backstory was totally, completely different than the backstory of the Halloween franchise. I feel that it had no relevance. This movie, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, had no relevance, had no ties to the original, the origins, the etymology of the Halloween franchise. It had no connection to the etymology of the Halloween franchise. Which means is that the backstory had in the whole overall plot had nothing to do with Michael Myers, and it also had nothing to do with the leading actress, Jamie Lee Curtis, which, may I add, is a beast. But it had nothing to do with neither one of those individuals. So this is why this was one of the key reasons why I just was not feeling this film like that as far as being attached to the Halloween franchise. In a minute, I'm going to let you guys know what I mean by my first key point about being attached to the Halloween franchise. But as I said, the backstory had no ties, no type of relevance to the Halloween franchise and to Michael Myers or Jamie Lee Curtis as playing Laurie Strode. This was one of the main reasons why I just wasn't really too fond of it. I'm like, wait a minute, is this both supposed to be a Halloween movie or not? I know a lot of you can agree. Was this supposed to be a Halloween movie or not? Because if this was supposed to be a Halloween movie, how come that this film had nothing whatsoever to do with Michael Myers or Laurie Strode? When we look at most of the Halloween films, the majority of Halloween films had some type of significance or relevance to Michael Myers or Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. But Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, had no type of connection or relevance to the other movies. And that was the problem I had with this film. Now, number two was the label itself, and I think a lot of people will agree. And I've seen a lot of different posts. I've done a lot of research. A lot of people in the community, in the horror families, had a big issue with this. The film being labeled Halloween, then the subtitle Season of the Witch. The main title was Halloween, and the subtitle Season of the Witch. A lot of people had an issue with this, it being named Halloween, but it had nothing to do with the whole concept and story structure of the Halloween franchise. So this was the main, if not the main, I would say the most main important reason why this received a lot of backlash. This film received a lot of backlash. A lot of people didn't attach to it as they could have. Which I just told you guys about a few minutes, if they had decided to make this film independent itself, stand alone by itself. So what I mean is, if they had chose to have this film be independent and separated from the Halloween franchise. However, whether it was the same producers and directors of the Halloween franchise, if they would have let this film stand alone, I think it would have had more people and more horror family in the horror community draw to this film if it would have stood alone by itself and been independent. What that means is, if they would have just started, they could have even possibly started a whole different franchise. It should have just been labeled Season of the Witch. Season of the Witch, without having any ties to Halloween. But because of the fact that they gave it the title Halloween and then gave it the subtitle Season of the Witch, I think this is one of the main, if not the main reason why it received a lot of backlash, and the reason why a lot of people did not draw to it as they could have drawn to it, and why it became the least likable of all of the Halloween films, the least favorable of all the Halloween films. So I will go so far as to say, I will put out the petition right now that Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, it could have been a franchise of its own. They could have made this movie its own, made it independent. The movie should have just been named Season of the Witch. And then if you look at how that film was, as I said early in the beginning of this upload, the film was not a bad movie, okay? It was not a bad movie, so don't misquote me of what I'm saying. It was not a bad movie, it was a good movie. But the fact that it had that label of Halloween, we automatically assume, as horror fans in the horror community, we automatically assume that it was going to have some type of connection or relevance to Michael Myers or Laurie Strode, which it did not. And I think that was just a big key point right there and a big factor. But I'm setting a petition right now. This film, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, could have been a film by itself. It could have been alone and independent. And then you could have had this production company, the director and the producers of Halloween, they could have had a whole nother saga possibly on their hands. Because I could see that this film, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, I could see that if they had chose to make it independent and let it stand alone, I could see its possibility. You could have had a Season of the Witch 1, Season of the Witch 2, Season of the Witch 3, etc., etc. Or named it something, Season of the Witch, and then have it a subtitle, Return of the so-and-so and so-and-so. You guys know what I mean. It could have stood alone. So I think that they should have really considered that, and really should have went the direction of making this film stand alone and giving its own label and letting it be independent. So we could have had Halloween, and we could have also had Season of the Witch, 2 separate franchises. So those were those 2 key things were a major factor in what I think what a lot of people, why they just didn't attach to it as well as it could have been attached to, and why it was the least favorable out of all the Halloween franchises. I'm curious to know what you guys' opinions and views are on this particular film, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Make sure you tear up that comment section and let me know. What do you guys think? Did you guys like this film? Was it your least favorable out of all the Halloween films? Let me know. Tear up that comment section. Moving on, as I said, those are my 2 key main important ones. I would have to say hands down the 2 key reasons. The fact that the backstory was totally different and opposite of the Halloween franchise. Number 2, the label Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I think if they would have just labeled this separately and did not give that label of the Halloween and had it separate and possibly made its own independent film, let it stand alone, I think it could have been great. It could have been big. But those were the 2 main key reasons. But as I said, overall, I did like this film. It was a good movie. If you're looking for a good movie on a good movie night, you want to watch some type of horror, slasher, thriller, suspense, mystery, this is a good film to watch. Okay? But I just couldn't really get into it. When I remember first watching this as a kid, when I was watching this, and I'm seeing, okay, I saw Halloween 1, then I seen Halloween 2, then here comes Halloween 3. And as I'm watching it from the beginning, I'm like, okay, when I start seeing it at the beginning, I'm like, okay, I see what's going on, but okay, I'm just going to be patient. Eventually, maybe it's going to have some connection or show us some type of way how it connects to the Halloween franchise. And then I remember as a kid, like, okay, this film is not connecting to the overall backstory of the Halloween franchise. So I'm confused where you guys are going with this. So I remember, as I said, watching this as a kid, I was just like, I was dissatisfied to a certain extent. I was very dissatisfied because I'm like, you guys would have been better off just making this film stand alone by itself and just having it be independent compared to giving it that label of Halloween 3, letting it be Halloween 3 entitled Season of the Witch, which it has no relevance to the franchise overall, the plot twist of the franchise in general. So that was my points of views of it. As I said, I like the film, but I was very dissatisfied with it. It's one of my least favorable films of the Halloween franchise. Rob Zombie would be the second film, which would be my least favorable film of the franchise. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Once again, I'm curious to know what you guys think. Do you guys disagree or do you guys agree? How do you guys feel about this movie overall, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch? I'm curious, what are your points of views of it and what are your opinions? What were your dislikes and what were your likes about this film? So I want to thank you guys once again for tuning into the show. I want to always give much love and appreciation to you guys for supporting the platform. So you guys already know what it is. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification button so you'll always be up to date when I drop new content. So you guys already know what it is. It's the M to the J to the U, Peace.